Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Mike is here. Garrett is here. I'll bring my special guest in. Uno momento. Actually, let's just bring her in now. Those of you that are fans of the show or listeners, I don't call you fans. Listeners of the show know exactly who this is. You may know her as MAGA Barbie online. I know her as, let's see, hold on, this is tough. Let me make sure I got this right. The Nazi, fascist, Hitler, racist, garbage, authoritarian,
Keep it coming. Keep it
dictator, tyrant, MAGA whore friend.
Racist.
Yes.
You got racist.
Did I get racist? No, I got
No,
racist.
Childless?
Okay.
Did you get childless?
Childless. So far, that'll change.
Are you a crazy cat lady?
Crazy cat lady. Yeah. Whatever. Did I get all the names right for you, Amy?
Yeah. Yep. I think you got them all. Good job.
Look at you. You look like a MAGA queen.
Hey, you know what? I am just like all about it. I'm all about it. I was just at a work event. I couldn't wear my hat, but I'm wearing red.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know where I stand.
I don't think they were confused. This is insane. So I was saying, if you want to lower the camera, center yourself well. If you want to get some upper titty going, that's cool. Garrett, if you want in fairness, if you want to show the V.
Yeah, I was thinking let the bag hang out,
Yeah.
The bag.
A little bit of bag.
Yeah, just a little bit of bag.
Just a little bit. Tasteful.
Tasteful bag. I like it. How was your guys' weekend? Amy, I'm assuming everybody in the room watched the Lions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Garrett?
Everyone did.
Garrett, your fag is showing. You didn't watch the Lions?
No, I was busy painting my nails. But look, they're blue like the Lions.
At least he's theme dressing.
I was theme dressing. I missed the game, but I was getting into it first.
If he would have come in with yellow and green or something, then I would have had to backhand him. But at least he's got blue painted fingernails. I guess that's good.
Totally.
Dude, how does this feel, Amy? Before we get into the heavier stuff, we have the number one team in the NFL, and it's not really close right now.
It's not close.
No, it's not.
It is
if you
not
watch
close.
These other teams, it's not very close. It's incredible.
Yeah. It is seriously the most amazing thing. It's the most amazing thing. I today had to get up at this conference I was at and do a public speaking exercise. And they just gave me a random topic and they're like, talk about it. And they were like, tell me why you're a Lions fan. And I got to tell you, by the time I was done, I think I had the whole room ready to root for the Lions to win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's so exciting. It's so exciting.
Yeah. It really is.
A lot of pressure, though.
Well, you know what's coming because, trust me, I've watched really good franchises do really good things over the years, and they all have one thing in common, which is a lull at some point in the season. That's to be expected. The only thing that can derail this squad, I'm convinced, is injuries. That's it.
Yes.
It's the cruel nature of the NFL.
100%. Who's the healthiest of the good teams left standing at the end?
Yeah. And quarterback obviously being number one.
Right.
A lot of people freaked out, and I immediately went on the show that Monday and said Aiden Hutchinson being out sucks, but that does not devastate your season.
Yes,
this is an offensive-based league, period.
Right.
It was a big deal. You saw what happened when Branch went out. And Branch is legit in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
Correct.
And a garbage toss out during that game yesterday could have been critical, but it's you can make do.
Yeah,
you remove Jared Goff, it's a problem.
Right.
It's a real problem.
Right.
So
totally.
It's just awesome, so fun, isn't it?
It's so fun. I'm just in heaven.
Yeah. I mean, you probably are too young to remember. I remember
the 50s.
The 50s, yeah. I remember the 50s well. I was a youngin' at the time. I was in my early teens in the 50s. But no, I remember the 91 squad. I remember the 91 squad going to the championship being completely outclassed by the Redskins, and the Redskins went on to win the Super Bowl. The Redskins are going to be a problem this year.
Yeah.
The Redskins are looking legit, for real.
Yep.
The Washington football team?
Yeah, stop.
Shit, they're not even that anymore. They've had another name change.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't call them the newest one. I could have gotten used to the Washington football team.
That's where I stopped.
Wink, wink, tongue in cheek, funny.
Yeah, totally.
that one I could get behind, but no, they're the Redskins. That simple as that.
Yeah.
So I'm just not gonna play along with these games
Yeah,
where they're gonna tell other grown adults what words are appropriate. It's like fuck off. No, we're not. It's just it's insane, and it's about to go off. I'm convinced that, and I'll get your guys' opinion on what you think as we are one day from the election. And we'll get into some details about where I think this is going. I've been doing my research, and I think it's going to go off. What kind of things do you think it's going to look like tomorrow and the coming days, Amy?
I do think I'm a little nervous. I think it's going to end up being way more of a blowout than I think it's going to be. Like, I'm just generally nervous because of the last election. Like, but I also recognize that the shift in opinion and, it was so negative on Trump in 2020. It's completely different now. I mean, he was like the face of the pandemic, and everybody was like, we need something different. And
which
so
was bullshit, but okay.
Right. And I think that made it easier, I will say, to maybe fudge some numbers here and there. But I think now it's so it's seismically shifted the other way. And I just think like you would have so much more outrage now if they came out and they were like, Kamala got the most votes of all time. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Well,
so I think he's going to win, and I think it's going to be glorious because two things are going to happen. One, nobody on the other side will be able to accept the election results.
Nope.
And they will point to 2020 as a way to say, you didn't accept the election results. In fact, there was an insurrection. And so at least we didn't do that.
Yeah.
And their peaceful transfer of power bullshit will all go out the window, and they'll be challenging it left and right, just like they did in 2016.
Have you been following Mike Benz at all?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, you're over the mark when you Google someone and you're like, okay, tell me more. And it's like, oh, racist, xenophobic. You're like, oh, okay. This is someone to listen to.
Right.
And I've got a couple clips that I'll play for you guys. And then we'll get to Rogan, who I think had a really interesting interview that dropped Friday, I think, or Saturday even, with John Fetterman, which I think was interesting. And then 20 minutes ago, he dropped another interview with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. I started watching that one before we went live. I can't wait to watch that one in full. But I've said it before. I cannot stress it enough. And I know a lot of people might get tired of hearing it. You can't even quantify how important Elon Musk buying Twitter was, whether you want to recognize it or not, whether you understand what that did. It's seismic in what it did for this country, what it's doing. Like, I don't even need to say it anymore. It's catastrophic to the plans. And how this
ruined
was
everything. And you knew that when you saw their reaction to it.
Yeah. And their current reaction to it. So we'll get into all that, but I think it's important for people to understand what went on in 2016, what went on in 2020, with, this all ties in together. Hunter's laptop, the media, and luckily for all of us, I am confident. I've never said this before, but I'm confident in saying this is the end of your legacy media. This is the end of their run. Is whatever happens here, they are not, their smugness, their attitude, their numbers are in the shitter, and their trust is at 80% negative at this point. It's at historic levels. I think their days are officially over after this election. Yeah. So the independent media, people will be starting more, you don't like it, build your own. Well, people have.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the fruits of that now. And it's only going to get more, and they are going to be less and less relevant. I started to freak out about George Soros buys 200 radio stations and all that, and gets fast tracked through that whole play. It's like, yeah, who the fuck's listening to that anyways? Who gives a shit?
Right.
No,
Buy all the legacy media.
He did it to gut the companies and make a profit.
I don't know what his plan is. I don't trust him at all. I don't give a shit about him. I think he's nothing but trouble, but I don't think that's relevant. But I do worry about some of the things that they've talked openly about that gets zero press coverage. And Mike Benz has been blowing the whistle on this for a while, talking about the color revolution in other countries. He was someone that worked in the administration for a while. He's kind of a cyber security expert, is his claim to fame. And when you start listening to him, it's very troubling about what the play is. Do you have the first clip there from him, Garrett?
Yeah.
Just to kind of set the table a little bit. I've done my best because there's a lot out there. And then I'll kind of read through the playbook and we can discuss.
Right.
Yes. They had a very robust network already in place ahead of Election Day that had already completed several of the Michael McFaul 7-step plans for how to overthrow a democratically elected government in a color revolution. And I can actually read some of those 7 points of the Michael McFaul playbook on this that I think are useful. 4, 5, 6, and 7, I think everyone should know to be able to identify what they may try should Trump win the Electoral College. Number 4 is an ability. So the first 3 are you need a semi-autocratic rather than a fully autocratic regime, meaning you need something of an open society to be able to set up your pawns on the chessboard to overthrow the government. The second is an unpopular political opponent who can be easily tarred or delegitimized. The third is a united and organized opposition. They're actually on these 3 points. They're actually they're considerably weaker than last time, in the sense that the incumbent government is actually their own. And their united and organized opposition is somewhat fragmented right now because of what appears to be a intra-party civil war between the Biden faction and the Harris faction. There appears to be some backbiting, and some of the groups are not as unified as they were in 2020. But here's where it gets interesting. Number 4 is an ability to quickly drive home the point that voting results were falsified, that the official vote tally that is reported on election night was wrong because of a parallel vote, a parallel tabulation done by so-called independent NGOs, which are all going to be essentially Democrat Party or Never Trump GOP third-party tabulators. Number 5 is enough blob media to inform citizens about the falsified vote. Technically says it's enough independent media, but that means independent from Trump alignment. It means their own captured media. So they need complete control of the media to be able to drive home the point that the official vote numbers were wrong. Number 6 is a political opposition capable of mobilizing tens of thousands or more demonstrators to protest the electoral fraud, meaning they need mass street protests, Summer of Love, George Floyd, BLM, Antifa-style street protests to run into the police precincts, to capture the parliament building, to capture the government buildings, to shut down the highways, to destabilize the country. And then number 7 is divisions within the regime's coercive forces, meaning a division within the guys with guns, making sure all the guys with guns are on the side of the protesters, or at least not willing to stand against them.
That's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem. So when you're talking about, I found, he's done lots of interviews and he's gone into great detail about this. I think he's been on Rogan before. He was on Patrick Bet-David recently and went through a lot of this. Obviously, we're not going to play 45 minutes or an hour, 2 hours plus of his stuff. Robert Randanon was nice enough to summarize one of them, and I'll go through it with you about the plans this time around and what people need to be aware of as far as the lengths these people are willing to go to. So, step 1, according to Mike Benz, and you can follow him at Mike Benz, BENZ Cyber. Step 1, delay, prevent certification, buy time to execute a color revolution, regime change at the point of maximum vulnerability. Here's the formula to prevent Trump from taking office. So the playbook: 1, delegitimize the Trump win. Must happen quickly and delay any certification. So this is where you get the look of like, we're not going to know night one. You need to buy some time.
Gotta buy time.
Prevent certification via chaos, threats to key Congress people, immense media pressure, and massive public protests and street riots. And then he says rent-a-mobs plus useful idiots, etc. We've seen those tactics many times before. We know what that looks like, AKA George Floyd, all that kind of stuff. Very little punishment for abhorrent behavior in the streets. Make people uncomfortable, feel unsafe, all that kind of stuff. The mob is crucial. The mob muscle is the most important pressure mechanism. 3, move the decision to SCOTUS and pile on the pressure to avoid Trump's win. 4, media surround sound lionizes the mob as freedom fighters fighting for democracy, and it's nonstop. The country's on fire. 5, the SCOTUS justices are intimidated, as they were in 2020. Install Trump in office and the whole country will burn down. Redo the election? Can't. The country will burn. 6, so SCOTUS, for those that don't know, Supreme Court of the United States. Yep. So that's what they're talking about there. SCOTUS acquiesces to save the country, quote unquote, and appoints Harris, and the media maintains control via the color revolution. Once in power, I would expect the political prisoner count to go through the roof. Per Mike Benz, the final arrangement is a compromise, a split between the guys with guns, often feds, versus more local law enforcement. They stand down. So this is where I think the Elon Musk stuff can't be understated. Yeah. How do you stop a color revolution? And we've seen these tactics deployed. Think of every third world country where a government is put in power, duly elected, by the people, and then it doesn't go along with what America wants, and you go in and destabilize it, a coup attempt or something.
Yeah, they do. We do this everywhere. So to think that they wouldn't do it on their own people is
exactly.
We're famous for it.
Yeah, we're kind of famous for it, and you kind of look. We're arrogant enough to be like, these poor people can't get it together. Look at these poor. You'd never think that could be a possibility to turn on us.
No.
Totally.
Now, I hope none of this is true. I hope none of this happens. What's the Achilles heel? Well, we have examples of it. There are 3 key vulnerabilities. They are media control, rent-a-mob generation, and corporate extortion funding. Absolute control of the media. He refers to them as the blob. This is just a blob of people, elitist people. So the blob has to control the narrative. They must portray the plight of poor demonstrators as highly moral, a fight for freedom against tyranny. The rioters are saints fighting against a clearly stolen election. The rioters are the saviors of democracy. Problem for them, tens of millions of us are no longer paying attention to their propaganda, lame media attempts here, the outlets. If we were, Trump would not be in the lead. X is the number one foil, but so are all these long-form podcasts, citizen journalists on Locals, Rumble, etc. Mm-hmm. The counter-narrative is leaking out all over the place.
Correct.
Another problem, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's almost a force of nature. They must control the narrative. Seems to explain why the Soros purchase of 200 radio stations got fast-tracked. But what percent of the population listen to those? Maybe for live sports broadcasts, I don't think they have much influence. I agree with him there. Really, you guys probably do too.
Yeah.
I don't. Let's see. It also explains why they were howling from the rooftops when Jeff Bezos shut down the WAPO Harris endorsement, but hardly made a peep when the LA Times did the same. If they can't control Bezos and the Washington Post, it's a serious problem, and it means they've got 2 billionaire media entities they can't control. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. It's a serious problem. And Bezos is a problem for another reason. If he leaves the blob reservation, he gives permission for other leading corporations to resist the government shakedown for money. Elon Musk then is no longer the Lone Ranger. He has company. The dam could break. Actually, I think it is breaking. We're seeing an increasing number of fund managers and Silicon Valley types come out to support Trump. We're hearing about many who support him in the background, but are still too timid to admit it in public. This has changed. My own guess is that this has the blob seriously worried. I'm smelling fear and desperation. And if the government coercion game fails, the blob has real problems. They lose the extortion money. Point B below aside and it's not truly existential for them. He goes on. The blob is a natural function of a bureaucracy, so they will never entirely disappear, but they could be severely weakened, at least for a few hours. And with AI moving as quickly as it is, who knows? The blob must assemble to rent a mob and quickly attract tens of thousands of NPCs, non-player characters, useful idiots, to swell the contrived movement. Rent-a-mobs cost a lot of money. I had no idea about this. Maybe you did, Amy or Garrett.
Yeah.
For example, the money flow to BLM to stage the George Floyd riot between 16 and 21 was on the order of, you guys, any guess how much? What's that?
What are you saying? Your mic cut out a little bit.
I was saying, do you have any idea the magnitude of money to fund those riots? And he says, trust me, I have receipts. So
that's crazy.
And he says, this is not a typo. What do you think the 16 to 21 George Floyd riots cost? What that was the order of?
$50 million.
Yeah, that's a good guess. Garrett?
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 100 million.
Cute. $83 billion.
Yeah, that's what I
figured. Wait, what?
I knew it'd be something. I'm like, fuck it, let's go 100 million. I'm going to go higher without going over.
With a B. And he says, that's not a typo. And the total to all NGOs, non-government organizations, the government uses to do their work while maintaining plausible deniability NGOs. Has been reported as over $200 billion.
It's insane.
And Mike Benz brings receipts on that. This is big business. They're paying for all the They're playing for all the marbles. Ergo, this is a point of vulnerability. They can't fund a color revolution directly out of Congress. That would create an uproar they couldn't tolerate. So they shake down big corporations behind the scenes. Mike Benz does a nice job of explaining how they do that. If several of the biggest corporations in Silicon Valley shut down the money spigot and refuse to be intimidated or coerced, this is a serious problem. That type of rebellion can spread like turbo cancer. It will embolden others to resist the shakedown. Right now, we're at the initial stage. Delegitimize the election and do it fast. It's in your face. By all appearances, the blob is hard at work on step one. If this speculation is correct, we should see the election nullification go nuclear starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
With an attempt to avoid a clear decision on election night. If the vote is too big to rig, and if Trump is declared the winner on election night, we should then see a massive election delegitimization operation and rent-a-mobs take to the streets the day after Trump wins. They have to delegitimize and fire up the mobs. Watch for it, and watch for every move to shut down the counter-narrative in the media. So, do we have more? Who else did I have on that list? Mike Benz. And
you have Jack Posobiec.
Yeah. Was there another one there? Go ahead and play the second one from him. Okay. And if it's repeating what I just said, we can kill it. I can't remember exactly.
No worries.
Just as we close out, that why it is that we have to pay attention to the rules 10 times more than they do.
Well, because they control the Justice Department. And that's basically what it comes down to. This is the most corrupt Justice Department in United States history by so many orders of magnitude. It's not even close. The rules do not apply to them. The rules only apply to us. They set the rules. They enforce it selectively to make sure that they are above them. But the more they do that, now that we have X, now that we have Rumble, now that we have free speech again, in a relatively unfettered fashion, the harder it is for them to get away with it, or at least the harder it is for them to get away with that with their legitimacy intact. And so publicizing DOJ malfeasance on this is very important. Keeping the pressure up in terms of media reporting is extremely important, and it will remain important through January as they will try every trick in the legal book. But frankly, this is kind of the kind of final battle that this grand saga deserves. They've thrown everything at us. They've, from the Antifa hordes of 2017 to the mass censorship of 2018 to 2023 to the mass arrests to the lawfare to the dirty tricks around Russiagate to the impeachment, we're used to having the deck stacked against us. That is not something that I think will deter anyone who has been on this journey for this long. Frankly, it just makes us fight harder.
Crazy.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
So true.
It wasn't that long ago that you couldn't even talk about this stuff.
Totally.
And
get
there's
kicked off YouTube, get kicked off everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, what's it like for you day to day walking around, Amy? I mean, what are the kind of reactions you get having the balls or the ovaries to walk around with a MAGA hat on? I know, our buddy Dan used to do this.
Yeah.
And it's not just met with, hey, good luck in November, is it?
It is changed so much. I would say it is 90% positive and 10% negative. The 10% that's negative is incredibly loud, but the 90% that's positive. I mean, I wore my Shady Bunch shirt to Cedar Point and so many compliments on it.
Tell people what that shirt is. It's a great shirt.
Yeah, so it's like the Brady Bunch squares, and it's the Shady Bunch, and it has like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Obama, Fauci, like all the shady people from the Dems. It's missing Whitmer though. I will say that. I was wearing that shirt, got a ton of positive feedback on it. I recently had a online spat with someone from high school, totally unexpected. And
tell me about this. I want to know about this.
Okay, so
is this to the level of like you and Mike at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was so crazy. Like, I'm not friends with this chick at all since the last election because she went crazy. Trump broke a lot of people. And as the years have progressed, I've become more outspoken about my beliefs, and I will have a discussion with people, and they do not like that. They just want to hammer you with insults and try to guilt you into thinking the way they think. And when you stick up to them, they have no idea what to do. So, I mean, she's blocked me on every social media platform. I blocked her too. I don't think about her. I haven't even thought about her.
Is she someone you went to high school with?
Went to high school with.
Okay. Yeah.
Graduated either with my husband or a year after my husband. She's friends with my husband on Facebook. And we've got a ton of mutual friends. So of course, as she starts posting about me, I'm getting people sending me the screenshots of her posts. And what had happened was, one of our high school teachers who I adore, love her to death, even though she is a flaming liberal.
Yep.
But I respect her so much. But I've gotten to the point where I'm sick and tired of people just throwing around the word Nazi and liberal.
Yeah.
Nazi and Hitler. I've had it. And especially people who know me. Like this teacher knows me. She knows I'm not that. So I just went to her status and I was commenting on it. I was being totally respectful because again, I respect this woman very much. She's an old lady. Like I'm not going to disrespect her. And so Piper is her name. Her original post was, I'm not friends with everybody's favorite ex-English teacher, but I got woke up to a ton of text messages saying Amy Zempel's a Nazi. And guys, we already knew this. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, but of course she's not friends with me. So like, you're saying this to like your echo chamber and people are sending it to me because you're like psychotic. So then people sent me, those memes like when there's a natural disaster and like marked safe from hurricane or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
She created one. She created a meme for me that said marked safe from Amy Zempel's racist bullshit today.
Okay.
Posted that.
Yeah.
So I just make a post that says, Piper, I'm right here if you want to talk. If you got something to say to me, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, Mike, you should invite her on the show. I would love to have a discussion with Piper because the thing
Yeah.
is she would never say any of these things to my face because she
Yeah.
would get shut down so fast.
See,
So then, of course, she makes a post like, when I said I'm right here if you've got something to say to me, she screenshotted it a minute after I posted it, which is crazy. And
Yeah.
she just said, thank you for not having children. So I'm having an extra
Okay.
kid for Piper.
Yeah, there you go. You know, this is, I think, when you look at the grand scale of when you're talking about some people, the woke mind virus or identity politics. This is what we bitched about on the Drew and Mike show 25 years ago, that you could see this coming, this kind of like, who are these people that almost want to segregate everybody?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like, oh, she's a Trump fan. Well, that means she's the same as everything. The worst
Right.
of humanity.
Right.
It's how you get there where it's like, oh, all Mexicans are this or all black people are this. This is why there's such a massive disconnect for people like me or Garrett or Amy from those types of people where we go,
Yes.
no, I look at someone who is a liberal. They might be wearing a Harry Balls 2024 hat, but I know that as a person, and I like her.
Yeah.
Like she's cool with me. That's cool. We just avoid politics instead
Totally.
of like, oh, she must stand for everything that's even, and I hate her, and now I
Yeah.
need to put myself safe from her. Like,
Right.
we don't just write off people with different opinions. I really think that's the difference.
Yes. Because the thing is, Mike, is they won't talk about their platform and their position because they have none.
Yeah.
And it's all this like anti-Trump rhetoric. And
Yeah.
honestly, I was thinking about it today as I was driving home from Ohio. And if I were, I'm genuinely curious how Jewish people would feel, how they feel because liberals have brought back the swastika.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, like the swastika did not exist, but for liberals throwing it in your face on everything that's Trump, you know, they're doing this like racist Nazi Hitler bullshit. And it's like, you guys are the one bringing this up.
Yeah.
You, not us.
Well, we had similar thoughts when trans people started going ballistic and talking about, you know, their fight for civil rights and this, and it was like, black people have to see this and absolutely vomit in their mouth. Like,
Yes.
motherfucker, are you kidding me? Are you
Right.
kidding me right now? You're
Right.
using language that's already been used for real plights in human history. Like,
Right.
knock it off. What are
Right.
you doing?
Right.
This is it's so evil, honestly.
It's so evil. And, it's so and I just have resorted, I will call you out every single time you do it because it's bullshit. And they know it's bullshit.
Well, what I like about you, Amy, and the reason I thought it was cool, it'd be a good idea to have you on this week is because I know you as a person, as a human being, as a good person, as a smart, capable woman, like all things I look for in people and go, that's a good person.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. It's just so infuriating to see. And the thing that I like a lot about you is when I see you post, whether it's with why can't I think of Mike's last name right this minute? Jesus Christ. The guitarist.
Oh, Mike. Yeah.
Mistake.
Mistake. God damn it, dude.
I kept thinking Mike Lindell. That's all that was coming to my mind.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Mike
Mistake.
is
That fucking guy.
even when it got dark and he was going off the fucking deep end, you kept it respectful. It's very, very hard to do. And if you've ever done anything where you're debating people, like, it's natural to run out of something to say and be like, you see it on the left all the time where they're like, Amy's a Nazi.
Yes.
Like they don't have a real argument. So it's like, throw the worst, most vile things you can be. And that's my point. Stomp off.
No,
You don't tend to do that. You make a point, you're calm about it. And it's like, that's a sign of intelligence when someone is like, okay, I'm standing right here. If you want to have a conversation about something, I'm not running away from you. I'm not hiding from you.
Yeah.
You're not going to hide me in a basement for the next 6 months. Like, no. And so it's like, yeah, here's someone who, in my view, is very respectful to people. has a point, has an opinion, and is absolutely free to voice it. And I was really worried about this country for a long fucking time. The last few months has sort of been like seeing people come out of a fog, seeing people stand up and voice an opinion. It was like, I was starting to think, like, are there a handful of us on a fucking island here?
Right.
Just like in crazy land?
Right. And yes, and I was totally got off track, and thank you for bringing that back up. When I went through that with Piper, the amount of messages I got from people I haven't talked to in 20 years. I hadn't talked to them since high school or college. And they're messaging me like, I hope you don't think that this is creepy that I'm messaging you right now, but I really admire you. I admire that you say what you're feeling and that you're not afraid to say it. And a lot of people will be like, I'm in a position, I have a job where I can't speak my mind. I'm a cop, I'm a firefighter, I'm a nurse. And they don't feel like they can do that. And those numbers greatly outweigh the Pipers of the world. And Twitter is just a different animal because I have so many followers on Twitter. It's like there's so much hate on that app that it seems like it's more than it really is, And I
go
wear
there for
these
my
things
laugh,
in public because
dude,
I want someone to say something to me in person. I want them to, and they never do.
No, it's funny. Twitter, I'll go to your Twitter just for the laugh. Like, oh, here she said something. I can't wait to go to the comments and see the same thing just reworded. Like, Nazi, whore, MAGA.
Yep.
It's the same.
Blonde, the bleaches hurt my brain.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, my mom should have swallowed. That's a pretty popular one.
Oh, that's a good one. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
I like that one. So,
or for your dad should have swallowed. It makes it even funnier. I say that when the people all the time, like, your dad should have swallowed.
Yeah,
that's
not bad. That's not bad. Here's where I worry about this before we get into some of the Rogan stuff, which I think is important. And I know people are tired of this conversation, but seeing it break through with a lot of people is encouraging. I have video here of Jamie Raskin said this a couple weeks ago, and it's just like, if you think that, no matter how this election goes tomorrow and the coming days, don't think for a second, I have said for months, they're not letting Trump back in the White House. They're not. And they've tried to bankrupt him. They've tried to imprison him. They've tried to murder him.
Yep.
They've, the rules don't apply. I don't give a shit. I don't think it really matters. Kamala Harris going on SNL is a clear violation of FCC rules. If people know what those are, what those mean, they do mean something about equal time. And there's been cutouts over the years that have been put in place so you don't have to put every fucking nut job that's running for office in. but those come from a place where they don't want favorites to, so like what they're trying to prevent is, we're pulling for this candidate, so we're going to sell them ad time for 20 cents,
right?
And then for you it's the normal ad rate and it's $50,000 a second,
right?
Like you can't do that shit, right? And equal time, like, those things matter. And when I worked for the Jerome Mike Show as a kid, I didn't know, but when I first came back after leaving for Lansing and Kalamazoo, I worked with Trudy for a while, for like 6 months. I worked and she was the news director, and that title means something. And every day when she did the news, she would go through her notes. If you want to keep in good standing with the FCC, the Federal Communications, you need to, if you want your license to be in good standing, you have to dedicate a certain amount of your airtime to, stuff in the community. And so she would have a small percentage of stories each week that would be like, hey, I mentioned, a charity drive at this school. That so there's things like that in place that we don't think of kind of with an independent media. Those rules don't apply to independent podcasters. They don't apply to cable news. So if you're watching cable news in the afternoon, you're like, oh, someone said shit on live air, or someone was covering a live riot and someone was like, fuck you, CNN. That doesn't matter. Like, they do that out of respect, try to keep the airwaves clean, They have a, for regular broadcast networks, it's
Decorum.
10 p.m. to 6 a.m. when they don't allow, where those rules shut off. And if someone swears, it's no big deal. Stuff like that. So it is sort of like, to people that are paying attention, it's shitty 2 days before an election to have some blowjob to Kamala Harris on SNL. And, if I was Trump, I would demand equal time and make SNL go on the air at NBC and do a special fucking show and give me a minute 30.
Please do
Like,
that.
seriously.
Please do that, Donald Trump. Please do that.
You literally could demand that. There could be fines. Again, I don't think it matters. Everybody knows what they're doing, but it's just further like rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah.
It's just more of that shit that you see time and time again. When there's an error, it goes in this direction. And what are we going to do? No one cares.
Totally.
So these people are not going to go away easy. They're not just going to slither away. And Jamie Raskin said exactly that. And so just so people are aware of what kind of things are going on. So when you see riots, like this is assuming there's a Trump win on Tuesday, which, could be the case. No matter what happens, though, expect bullshit to go down if that side loses. We've seen it time and time again. Here's Jamie Raskin talking about the 14th Amendment.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
Yeah, another center needs to be created to handle.
Yeah. Let's have some meetings at that center where we can talk about hypothetical laptops that might possibly get released right before an election and how maybe you should handle that. Like when you talk about NGOs and stuff, they're like the most evil thing. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Because they are meant to do the bidding of the government that the government doesn't have the right to do.
It comes back to the plausible deniability. Like, oh, that wasn't us. You saw the same thing uncovered with the Twitter files that people don't want to talk about, which was a massive fucking story. And what Michael Schellenberger and his team and what's his name, what they uncovered there was crystal clear about they had no qualms at all going behind the scenes and shut this account down. They would have shut you down. Oh, she's got 50,000 plus followers on Twitter and she's saying this. That's disinformation. That's misinformation. All ties together. So when he talks about the 14th Amendment and the third clause of the 14th Amendment, well, what is he talking about? Well, the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees citizenship and equal protection under the law to all people born or naturalized in the U.S., ratified in 1868 following the Civil War, to extend the Bill of Rights to formerly enslaved people. 14th Amendment also includes the following provisions. So there's due process, equal protection, public debt, enforcement. Well, that third clause is what he's talking about, and that is disqualification. Former civil and military officers, office holders who supported the Confederacy are prohibited from holding any state or federal office without the approval of 2/3 of the House and Senate. This is sometimes referred to as the insurrection clause or disqualification clause. So he's banking on, this is why it was so important 4 years ago. And all you've heard every day since then, it's coming full circle. Why do they keep talking about January 6th? Why is it so critical that it's known in the public ear as an insurrection, right? That's why that was so important, that it's still being talked about. What looked like, a rally that got out of control, a
Mhm.
couple windows were broken. You want to arrest a couple people, knock yourselves out. But it was very forward thinking. Nancy Pelosi has been on camera talking about they've breached the Capitol. They've breached federal grounds. Like, she's giddy about it.
Yep.
'Cause she
that was
knows-
her best case scenario for her.
Yes.
Yep.
This is what this means. This is why none of us knew what an insurrection was unless we were fucking, really paying attention in civics classes and in history. A lot of people are just going through life. We're learning new words. What does this mean? Well, this isn't new. Insurrection's an actual term. And if you want to make it so Jamie Raskin can smugly sit back in a tuxedo and go ahead. He's going to be disqualified we've got a job to do to disqualify him. And the Trump hordes, think of the way he's talking about you. Oh, those angry MAGA losers, that they're going to have to deal with it. We'll get bodyguards and security, but he's disqualified. Nanner, vote all you want.
Yep.
That's the plan if things don't go the way they went. So in other words, heads I win, tails you lose is what he's essentially saying.
Yep.
Why can we run someone who's an illiterate fucking moron who can't put a sentence together, who everybody agrees can't answer a single question, and we don't have any problem doing that? Well, we've got this insurrection 14th Amendment bullshit in our back pocket.
Right.
So don't think for a second that's not going to come into play. When you have all the
Really
disorder, the
interesting.
disruption, that's what the plan is. So this is far from over, even in a landslide.
Yep.
I think a landslide helps a lot in shaping the public narrative.
Yes.
If you were to get that,
Totally.
it scares me.
It
that
makes
people
it harder
talk
for
about
them
it,
to
but-
do that.
Right. I think we as Americans, as people, think the best of people too. I think we do. We want to see the good in people. For the longest time, I was like, these people don't. They know. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt. They've been misled. I think when you're talking about these elitist people, they are sociopaths. They're sociopathic in the way they think.
Totally.
It's a game to them. We are just simply pawns. And, I don't know. Hopefully none of this comes into play, but that's Jamie Raskin just a couple weeks ago talking about what the plan is.
I believe he's the one who has said that they will only accept the results if it's a free and fair election.
Yes.
So
if you remember, it wasn't but a few months ago when Hillary Clinton made comments. It's all coming back now about why these things were done in the order they were done, why the insurrection, January 6th, insurrection, why that was so important. Well, you see it come full circle when you're talking 14th Amendment and Jamie Raskin.
Yep.
When they love to point out, a lot of people will say, and people in my own orbit have said to me, like, oh, it's just a deal breaker for me. Is he wouldn't say, concede the election, as if they needed that. It's so fucking weird. Nobody concedes an election.
Nobody gives a shit about
No
that.
one gives a shit.
The
But
fact of the matter is he left. The guy left office.
yes.
FYI. And
With-
by the way, he can't run again. He can't even have his name on the ballot again. So what are we talking about here?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. These people acting like Trump's going to do this, Trump's going to do that. It's like, well, it wouldn't, for a couple months, it wouldn't even be Trump's team in power. He'd just be a citizen that won an election. It would be Biden and Harris's, three-letter agencies.
What I thought
What's
about
that?
the other day, like, I heard somebody say, Donald Trump tried to do so many things in office that he didn't have the right to do, and he had to have good people surrounding him and telling him that he can't do that, and he's not going to have those people around telling him he can't do that. And I'm thinking to myself, the guy, for his first time ever in government office, was the president. Of course he got into office and tried to fucking do things that he couldn't do. He had never done the job before. So of course people are going to be like, hey, buddy, can't do that. That's actually like, you're not allowed.
Yeah, violation of this.
Right.
Sure.
But like, he's been there now. He knows what he can do. To act like this guy is just going to come in with like everything that they say that Trump is, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Everything to a T.
Yeah. Well, this playbook, this plan, and going back to the insurrection thing, I don't know how they do this, because you would have to strong arm the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court, you would have to bully them into making a decision, quote, for the good of the country, kind of like they did with the election last time. People love to throw that out. Oh yeah, he failed 63 times, and it's like there was no standing was the ruling, so they were never looked at. So to act like these were all litigated,
Right.
and like that's absurd on its face.
Yes.
And Craig Jardula went through all of this with us, explained how that works and why they would behave that way. But the fact of the matter is, if this insurrection thing was such a big deal, and oh my God, it's critical to it's an existential threat, to democracy. And again, for those that don't remember, an existential threat is a threat to the existence or survival of something, including a country. Like, that's the level we're talking about.
Yep.
So again, these words have meaning. They have definitions. We just throw around Nazi, Hitler, fascist, existential threat, insurrection. Like, they don't mean something, but they actually do.
Right.
The fact is, Jack Smith, for all his bullshit, never charged Trump with insurrection.
Bingo.
So
he's never been charged and never convicted. So good luck, Jamie Raskin, you clown.
Yeah, clown. And so, I was reading this New York Times article from years ago. Since former Trump was criminally indicted for the third time Tuesday, legal experts have pored over the new revelations related to Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The 4 charges he's facing and possible defenses. Special counsel Jack Smith charged Trump with conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. But what he didn't charge Trump with, incitement of an insurrection. Seems weird.
Very specific charge.
Yes, very specific charge that comes into play when you're talking about something like the 14th Amendment and disqualification for an election. So I don't. So they talk about. I thought this was funny. When the January 6th committee formally referred Trump for criminal charges, insurrection was one of the counts included. It would allege that Trump was directly involved in storming of the Capitol, but including that charge would have complicated the case. Oh. Would it? No.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons it could be complicated, prosecutors would have to rely on Trump's speech that day to prove he was encouraging a riot. That might be a problem in a court.
That might be a problem.
Yeah, that kind of argument.
His tweets that were suppressed and taken down might be a problem.
Yeah. You really want to do go deep dive into some of that stuff in an actual court, not a kangaroo court?
Right. You want discovery? Let's go.
So that kind of argument could face potentially tricky First Amendment issues. Could it, New York Times?
That pesky First Amendment.
Those legal disputes would have been time-consuming and distracting because the speech could be easily characterized as a political rally. This is so insulting to me. Time-consuming?
Yeah. Oh my God.
This is apparently something we are all supposed to lose our fucking worlds over. This is an existential threat. It's time consuming for the lawyers to deal with. That's your argument? Are you kidding? How do you even print that? Well, it would have been time consuming. It would have been hard to prove. Yeah, it's supposed to be hard to prove. When you make this is treasonous, assholes.
Right. And if you believe it, you should be able to prove it.
Yeah, no problem, right? No, we can just throw things around like Amy's a Nazi and a fascist. Sure.
Correct.
Right? We can just throw that around with no consequences whatsoever.
Just change the meaning of words, and words have no meaning, and you can just demonize anybody that you want.
Sure. There was outsized attention on a possible insurrection charge, in part because of the 14th Amendment bars anyone who engages in insurrection from holding office. In theory, a conviction would disqualify Trump from serving a second term. While the lack of an incitement charge simplifies the case, we're still in uncharted legal territory, especially given the defendant is the former president. Smith's case requires some unprecedented interpretations of U.S. criminal code. In other words, he'd get fucking buried in a court of law. That's what that means.
Exactly.
It would fall apart on its face. Yeah. So, but that's going to be the play. That's going to be the play. If it's a landslide the other way, trust me, Trump fans will get in line. If it appears that all sorts of shenanigans went on, who knows how that plays out? I don't know.
Yeah, I have absolutely no hope in Michigan. So to the extent anybody thinks
Really?
that Michigan is going to go red, like Whitmer and Benson at the helm of it all, I do not think they would allow that to happen.
Really? See, I'm not there. I don't know what's going on in the day to day. Is it, I see the same shitty polls that everybody sees that, oh, someone's up by half a point. Someone's down a point. Like,
right. And I just feel like because they don't start counting the votes until tomorrow. So all these like early votes that have come in, I just feel like they're not counted until they need them. You know what I mean? It's like, we need 100,000 more for Harris. Go get them.
Yeah.
Go get them out of the closet with all the ballots.
Well, what do you think happens? Because, there's breakdowns online you can watch of this too. These aren't my claims, but, if you dig deeper into Mike Benz, he breaks down, how this could be a problem if you get a situation like you had in 2020 where everybody went to bed and it was a fucking walk-off home run, Trump landslide. And then it was like, oh, by the way, while you were sleeping,
these pipes burst and this happened and it was crazy. Yeah.
And we just hadn't counted the mail-ins yet. We hadn't counted those. And now, what do you know? He wanted to running away with it. It's like, that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's going to work this time around. I don't know what the reaction would be either.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I think that Michigan is just so close that I think it's easier to do. Whereas like a Georgia, I don't think is close right now anymore. Like I think it's Trump is going to win Georgia. I think so. Yeah,
Wisconsin. I know they're nervous in Wisconsin, but what do you think of the places where they're like Virginia could be in play and Jersey could be in play? Like,
that's crazy.
I mean,
that is crazy to me. And I think it says a lot about how people feel. And I am convinced there are two types of people voting for Kamala: people who only care about abortion and people who hate Donald Trump. There is, you cannot find me a person that is like, I love her because these are her amazing policies.
Yeah, no.
Zero people will do that.
Yeah. No, it's the bowl of soup theory. It's the bowl of soup theory all over again. Nobody voted for Joe Biden. Totally. Nobody. You either voted for Trump or you voted against Trump. Period.
Just think, if they would have let him win in 2020, they'd be done with him. He wouldn't even be in this election right now.
It'd be over.
Yeah, it'd be over.
It would be
just
over.
Let the guy win. Give him 4 more years. What havoc could he possibly wreak on you in 4 more years?
What's that, Garrett?
JD Vance.
Yeah,
that's the havoc he could reach, because I love him, and that's what I'm saying is he's one of those
JD
guys
Vance is a problem
coming up. Him, RFK. There's a lot of guys behind Trump right now that I think if Trump can platform enough as president, they're going to be a powerhouse going forward in politics.
The issue they're going to run into with them though is like they're not Trump, and there's so much like Trump hatred.
Yeah,
that like it. I think that they could even win over some of the like never Trumpers, because there's a lot of people who are just like, I just won't vote for him.
Well, that's what I'm saying is getting Trump in now and platforming it's a danger to them. That's what they're scared of.
Totally. See what? Yes, I agree.
Plus the ideas they have with Elon Musk coming in, and I think Rand Paul just teamed up with Elon Musk to join that government oversight committee.
Yep.
Yeah, how beautiful would that be?
I love it.
Oh, I mean, it's something some of us have been thinking about for decades.
Must be like panicking.
Yeah,
panicked.
If they could throw Elon in jail, I think they would.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's totally on the table.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, in the Elon Musk interview that dropped an hour ago with Rogan, he'll get into some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're coming after him hard. I mean, I think he's suing in California now for the bullshit they're pulling with SpaceX. Like it's going to get ugly if Kamala Harris, they're going to want to get control of the narrative back. Like that's becoming more and more clear. And how do you do that? Well, you stomp out those voices. The thing with JD Vance that he's going to run into, because I've never seen anything from him in an interview that isn't completely level-headed, well thought out, well said, common sense. Like, he makes a lot of sense. He seems like a decent guy, but I saw what they did on a small scale when they thought Ron DeSantis was going to be maybe the guy.
Yeah.
And you saw just the first bullet start flying about what a monster he is. And I'm already hearing, people in the fucking most elitist groups around talking about, oh, JD Vance, they're talking like he's worse than Trump. And you're like, okay.
I just
okay,
had this discussion with my mom.
Really? Is your
She thinks my mom's such a
liberal?
She is voting liberal.
Yeah.
Because she hates Donald Trump. But she agrees with everything my sister and I say. Like, she agrees with all of our positions, but she hates Donald Trump. Yeah. But my sister was listening to the JD Vance Rogan interview, and my mom said, he's so weird.
Oh, looks like the message got through.
Yeah. Yes, totally. I was
programming.
Like, so I called her the other day and I was like, Mom, I gotta ask, like, why do you think he's weird?
Yeah.
I was like, he came off like shockingly normal.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, he's so weird, Amy. He started the rumor about eating the dogs. I was like, what? And he started that rumor. So he is so weird. I was like, okay. So turn off the news, go listen to the Rogan interview, come back with your opinion, because you just, when that's all you have to say to me, sorry.
It doesn't make any sense. It's a form of gaslighting, honestly, that has me pulling my hair out. Like, seriously, when you can't get to a baseline of agreement, like, it's the whole grass is green, sky's blue, when it's like, no, it's not. And you're like, wait, like, because I did this for my career. We did shit that was pushing buttons, pushing boundaries, calling out people's behavior, we said a lot of shit that would be, and everybody agreed, like, yeah, that's shitty behavior. Like, there was no, like, how dare you racist?
Right.
It was like, no, a black guy did something really fucking stupid. We're going to make fun of him for it. Oh, now a white guy did something really fucking stupid. We're going to make fun of him. And like, everybody was in agreement. Now it's like, okay, we can't get past like JD Vance is weird. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Right. Right.
Like, show me the thing that's weird, because because the fact is, if you wanted, you could sit down and show your mom 1,000 videos of why Tim Walz is weird, Kamala Harris is weird, Obama's weird.
Right.
Like, you can literally show her factual stuff. But if you ask these people, it's just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
That's what it is. That's exactly where she went. You know what, Amy? I already voted. You're not going to change my mind. I said, no, I'm not trying to change your mind. I was like, I'm genuinely curious. I just want to understand why you feel that way. That's all.
Yeah. I keep getting met with that. It's almost like the argument's lost now, but it's like, I don't even care. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to. And I'm like, I'm not telling you how to vote, who to vote for, or anything. I just want some clarification. This doesn't make fucking any sense to me. And it's like, and so it's like, okay, it's a way to shut it down. Here's why, we've talked about Elon Musk and why what he did with Twitter is so critically important. And if you're not interested in saving this country, we'll take it from here.
Yeah.
Like that, having that control over that narrative was getting to a point that it was absolutely dangerous.
Yes.
Where, and I know it, when you see people that are like, oh, it's benefiting my side, so they're willing to overlook it. Like, no, you have to be consistent with this and recognize, like, no, if it's happening to someone else and that precedent is being set, it can happen to me tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you have to stay strong and recognize that, no, you might not like what Alex Jones says, but it's very scary when you start going, it's just Alex Jones. It's just Alex Jones we're taking out. No. It's like, well, if Alex Jones was just a whack job, you'd ignore him.
Right.
If he wasn't hovering a little too close to the fucking sun, you wouldn't have a problem. You'd just ignore it. And so that's why we go, you know what? No, it's off limits. You don't get to silence people you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not how this works. Make a strong argument, debate your case, and change some minds.
Yeah.
And I'm living proof. Jimmy Dore has done that to me many times
Yep.
on liberal stances that I would have written off, where I go, he's making a lot of fucking sense right now.
Yeah.
He's making a
I
lot
like
of sense. Yeah, Edward Snowden and Julian Assange
Yeah.
and Seth Rich, and you're like, yeah, dude. Okay, these are, he's making good points and making me maybe do a little more research to prove him wrong, or
Right.
go, this guy's making a lot of sense right now. He
Right.
just is.
Yeah.
So that's
And you're going to get way more people on your side, and you're going to change a lot more minds if
Mm-hmm.
you are a level-headed person and you can actually present an argument. But when you just resort to name calling or attacking someone's appearance, or you lose all credibility. Don't
Yeah.
do that. Like, if
Don't.
you want to
Yeah.
convince me that Harris is the right candidate, calling me Hitler and calling me a Nazi is not the way to go.
no, it's a terrible debate style. It's not even a debate style. It's what's that, Garrett?
I was gonna say I literally just so I got into a little Facebook argument with somebody, Kamala Trump, and I posted my clips. I'm like, here's my evidence, and Tim Walz saying he's anti-First Amendment. Here's a clip of him saying this. Here's my argument. And then another Trump supporter came in on my defense, and it's like, this guy's a fucking idiot. I'm like, whoa, don't name call him. Hold on,
Yeah.
I got this.
Right,
Back up.
right.
So I had to bring the
You're
other
bringing
guy back a little bit.
facts.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to do that, to not go,
And-
are you fucking special? What's the matter with you? Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to do that. But so Elon Musk opening the door back to that has radically changed Twitter. I was off Twitter for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this
So
place, man.
different. Oh my God, it's
It's
so different.
So different.
So
And you know what?
different.
All the people that hate Trump are still there saying everything they were saying before. It's just there's some community notes and there's some people on the other side going, hold on a second, dude, and
Mhm.
saying
Yeah.
their piece. And it's like, okay, healthy arguments and debates. Not healthy, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like there
least
was fair
everyone gets to fight.
representation.
Yeah,
It
everybody.
wasn't-
Everybody gets to fight.
Yeah, exactly. So Joe Rogan is the other one. And it became crystal clear to me did you watch the Fetterman interview he did?
I have not watched the whole thing. I've seen clips of it, but I haven't
Yeah.
watched the whole Fetterman interview.
Well, Fetterman, I look and I go, I give you credit, dude. You went on there and you sat down for 2 hours and, you're there. Like there's something to be said for just sitting there and doing it.
yeah,
Kamala
Kamala didn't do it.
Kamala did not do it. And
Idiot.
the reason why Kamala didn't do it becomes evident in the Fetterman interview. And when I'll play some of it here, and I think it's important to pay attention to it. And it's talking, if you have that queued up there, Garrett,
Yep.
talking about the immigration stuff. Now, if you just have a good argument for why this immigration policies is important, it's way easier to just go, these people are all racist, turn off their Twitter feeds and turn off their Facebook and ban them from being able to say anything. Okay, well, that's one way to do it. Or you go, explain yourself, make this make sense. And the problem is when you have really fucking bad ideas, you can't do that. You can't, when someone presses back, so they would love for Kamala Harris to go on do George Stephanopoulos all day long, Anderson Cooper all day long, where she goes, we had a bipartisan border bill that would have done everything and Trump killed it for the optics. And they go, cool.
Yeah,
Next
right.
question.
Right.
Joe Rogan isn't putting up with that. And so watch what Fetterman does. And it's a few minutes
So
long,
I
but I
think
think it's worth it.
That's kind of that's I think that's kind of the underlying truth about that. And of course, I think I was the first Democrat saying, hey, we need a secure border. It's a significant issue. And if I thought there was any kinds of issues, and I've been very vigilant throughout, I've been actively involved in those kinds of things, and I've never witnessed those kinds of a thing.
But what do you mean by issues? Like what kind of issues you're talking about? You're talking about people letting people in order to get votes?
Well, it's not. There's not that level kinds. I don't think there's that level kinds of organization.
But there is an organization that's moving these people to swing states. There's a significant number of these people that are illegal immigrants that have made their way to swing states. And then there's been calls for amnesty. There's been calls for allowing these people to have a pathway to citizenship and allow them to vote. The fear that a lot of people have is that this is a coordinated effort to take these people that you're allowing to come into the country, then you're providing them with all sorts of services like food stamps and housing and setting them up, and then providing a pathway to amnesty, and then you would have voters that would be significantly voting towards the Democrats because they're the people that enabled them to come into the country in the first place and provided them with those services. This is a big fear that people have, and that you're rigging this system, and that this will turn all these states into essentially locked blue like California is.
Yep.
Well, it's immigration is always going to be a tough issue in our nation. Yeah. I had as a professor in grad school, Alan Simpson.
Filibuster. This is called filibustering, folks.
He was a United States senator. He was Wyoming, and he was actually a pro-choice Republican. I mean, how rare that would be. Well, it doesn't exist now.
Who cares?
And he said, you are never going to have any meaningful immigration kinds of
Pause for a
legislation.
second.
He's like, because both.
So what you're seeing here is filibustering at its finest, which is fine. He's allowed to do that. And then Joe Rogan. So Anderson Cooper would go, wow, that's a touching story about your professor, Senator. Thank you for your time today. Bye.
Right.
Or let's talk about something else. Joe Rogan's not going to put up with that. Go ahead.
Both sides. That's useful for them, and it's going to be back and forth. And he said that 25 years ago.
Useful meaning the debate, having it always a political
it's
talking
useful
point.
for one side or the other. It's useful, and he said they were never going to be, and he said that in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And I voted for the border deal, and that went down. And that's, I mean, he said that 25 years ago, and that was absolutely true now, that they had an opportunity to do a comprehensive border, bipartisan, and that went down because Trump, he declared that's a bad deal after it was negotiated with the other side.
Right.
But didn't that deal also
keep going? I said talking
involve amnesty, and didn't that deal also involve a significant number of illegal aliens being allowed into the country every year? I think it was 2 million people. So it was still the same sort of situation, and their fear is exactly what I talked about, that these people will be moved to swing states, and that will be used to essentially rig those states and turn them blue forever.
Well, I'm not really sure if that's what's in play. I think it's really it's important that we have to have an honest conversation.
But doesn't that seem logical though? If you have a significant number of people that are being moved into swing states that have come across the border illegally, and then you provided them with all these services, you provided them with food stamps, EBT, you've provided them with housing. You could, if you gave those people amnesty and allowed those people to vote, and it was very organized. You're talking about 75,000 votes over a few counties that switched everything over to the Republicans. You could see how you import 10 million people over the course of 4 years illegally, and then move a significant number of them to swing states, and then provide them with all these services, and then give them a path to citizenship. You could essentially rig those states.
Undeniably, immigration is changing our nation. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in Texas, but it's very clear that immigration has remade Texas, and I think it's generally for a good thing. And like my wife's Brazilian, and she was her family was undocumented, and she was 7 years old when she was brought here, and I'm the big pro immigration guy that there was, but it's also has to be true that we need a secure border, and we have to work this out, because we are pretending that you have millions and millions of people, living in the shadow, and they are here, and we have to work together and figure out a way to get forward because they're here, and it seems incredibly a difficult kind of logistics thing, and I think it's also un-American to round everybody up, and the vast majority of them are just
Can we start with the criminals?
Legal lives
Yeah.
and doing a lot of the jobs that other people here would never do. I think we can agree on that.
Well, J.D. Vance actually talked about that the other day when he was here. He was explaining how there are CEOs of large corporations that want these people to come across because they need cheap labor. And the way to get cheap labor is have people that are illegals working for less than what would be our minimum wage.
Well, I'm not aware. I mean, minimum wage really. I think it's most incredibly difficult and violent kind
Pause
of jobs.
for-
like
for a
you
second,
know,
was
like,
it-
and that's
Do I have another timestamp on there, Garrett?
You're actually about to bump up against it.
Am I okay? Just let it play then, because and this is important. And I'm sorry that it's this long. I don't have the editing tools here to cut this down. So, but you
right
can
here.
keep it going.
Okay.
But this is what happens when you press these guys a little bit. And this, honest to God, I think you guys know me and know that I believe what I'm talking about, and I'm an honest debater when I come to the argument with this stuff. This is all anybody wanted from anybody.
Someone
So-
say you're a master debater.
Yeah. This is smart ass. This is all anybody wanted, though. When you're talking about Kamala Harris, this is what you're talking about with a fucked up media.
Yep.
That the fact that it took till 2 days before an election before anybody, this is a senator, this is a sitting senator, and this is the first time anybody said, yeah, what do you mean by that? How
Right.
would that look?
Right.
What exactly, like, okay, well, let's play this out. So X, Y, and Z equals this. Like, this is all anybody wanted, and nobody has asked Kamala Harris this. Nobody ever asked Joe Biden this. So when you talk about a contentious media, it's not a contentious media to ask follow-up questions of these people.
Yeah.
You don't give these people the lane to just say some fucking blanket campaign stump speech statement and then, well, that's good enough for me.
Yep.
No, bullshit.
Right.
And Rogan continues, and watch Fetterman filibuster, dance around. He's already admitted this is basically an amnesty bill. So all you people out there that are going, well, they tried to have a comprehensive deal and Trump killed
Such
it. It's-
bullshit.
It's such dishonesty. It's
And they never
dishonest.
mentioned the I think it was 9 Democrats that voted against it, including
6.
Elizabeth Warren. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
and Bernie
6.
Sanders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead. We'll watch a couple more minutes here.
like,
Rogan.
that's meat.
Jobs that a lot of people
like
don't wanna work.
A lot of those are kind of really rough.
Meat
kinds of-
processing,
yeah,
construction.
yeah, very
work both those.
rough.
Right. And this is the thing that's been said about Springfield, Ohio, that these Haitians that have moved to Springfield, Ohio, there's people are complaining about them, but the people that have employed these people have saying, listen, these people are taking jobs that other people that lived in this community don't want. They work very hard, and they're very happy that they have this pathway to be in America now. I think most people that come here because they want a better life for their families. And America is essentially a country that was founded by immigration. I'm a grandchild of immigrants. I'm here because of immigration.
We all were.
Yeah,
immigrants.
this is an immigrant country essentially.
Yeah, and it's like
No, it
it's,
wasn't,
again,
but
and
okay.
like the Haitians, you know, that they're referencing in Ohio in Springfield. I mean, they're not eating dogs, they're not eating pets and those kinds of things.
Missing the
now,
point.
it's reasonable. I mean, I've said the same thing that we have to have a secure border, but it didn't even apply to that situation. That was all a legal situation. That was amnesty, excuse me, and that's
Amnesty.
because Haiti was
Almost
it
got
was it was
Yeah, 'cause we
terrible.
destroyed
Yeah,
Haiti.
a
Go
terrible
ahead.
situation.
Terrible
Yeah,
situation.
right.
And to me, they were doing those jobs, and Republicans, you know, even the Republican governor was saying, like, these are good workers, and
Right.
this is not the problem. They aren't eating geese, and it's just like you can be very pro border, like I am, or
Get
you
ready
can
for the
be very
pushback.
strict on immigration, but you don't have to demonize or try to turn a group of people in that they're eating your dog.
Well, I
And
think
that- you have to-
they're eating ducks and eating things. Look, I'm sure some people have done that. You know why I know that? Because some people do that in places that are just Americans. Ducks are edible, and some people want to eat a duck, and it's just like you're not going to stop it. But that's not the major problem that people face. So this is the pro side of it, right? The pro side of it is you give a pathway to people that are from very unfortunate circumstances, and I think we would both agree that if we were living in those countries and there was a pathway to citizenship in the United States, all you had to do is make it across the border, we would both do it. If it was better for our families, it was better for our future. If we were living in a place that had no hope, hope and no future, and all you had to do is make it to America, and you could work. We would all do it. I would do it. You would do it. I bet everybody listening to this would do it if they found themselves in that circumstance. That's the best aspect of it. The best aspect of it is good people that are ambitious, that want a better life, which is how this country was founded. The worst aspect of it is Venezuelan gangs that are taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and San Antonio, Texas. That's the worst aspect of it, is that they're letting in gang members. Venezuela's emptied out their prisons, and essentially, according to the president,
the Mario boat lift, the whole.
Right, what happened in Cuba. Yeah, the same kind of deal. Emptying out their prisons and instructing these people to make it to America. This is a significant problem with the open border.
Yeah, and that's why we need a secure border. And there's also, and that all of this is about a truth, is that America is a beacon to the world.
Yeah.
Millions
I
of
thought it
people.
was racist
The
and horrible.
demand to become a citizen here or to participate in our amazing society, the demand outstrips the space there, and we're already the very pro-immigration. We allow more kinds of a path, more than any other nations in the world on that.
Wait, why
and
would a
people are
racist
willing to
nation do that?
die, and they put themselves
Yeah,
at
how about
risk
that?
just to kind of get here, to be a participant here. So America isn't the problem. America is
Oh.
one of the great
crazy.
hopes in the world, and that's why so many people want to come be a part of that. And that's why it has to have an effective border. And it's like, if we had a real issue here and we wanted to address that, and that's why my former professor said that you're never
this
going to
guy
have the
again.
kind of
This-
a deal
yeah, this
because
bullshit
it
again.
is
Go
useful
ahead.
for
Good
both
enough, Garrett.
sides to whip.
Do you think that anyone ever referred to Nazi Germany as like the beacon of hope?
Yeah, right. And he's going to further filibuster and go to the poem on the inside of the Statue of Liberty. Bring me your tired,
Yes,
huddled
that was
masses
gifted to
yearning.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gifted to us. That was a poem. It's
Right.
he wants to
It's not like our motto that
our
like, we all
motto,
came
our
up with
bill. It's
and
on our
voted
Bill of
on.
Rights.
It's
Yeah.
not lost on me either that it's a poem by a country who we helped with an invasion from another country.
Yeah,
Right.
Like get those people off them.
Right.
And what they're doing, what he's dabbling in, and what you see a lot of these politicians do is they're conflating two different things: illegal and legal immigration. Right? We are trying to have a very simple conversation. We all agree that immigration is good. If you come here, bring us your best, your brightest. He'll say stuff like they enhance the population and they make society. And it's like, yeah, we know. We all agree with that.
Yeah.
Duh.
Mhm.
There are millions that have come in legally, that have gone through the steps. It's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah.
They come in and they want to work hard. They want to do the best for the family. And this
And those
nation,
people hate
unlike any other
illegal
nation,
immigrants more than anybody.
I was gonna say,
exactly.
I have two step parents, both immigrants, and both of them do not like the illegal immigrants.
Right.
Yeah. You hear them vocalize a lot. But isn't it interesting, Amy, to watch simply these guys put on the spot and asked proper follow-up questions?
Oh yeah.
That-
That's why Kamala would have never gone on that show.
No,
They
that's-
gave him terms they knew he wouldn't agree to, and then they could blame it on him.
Right.
And I
It's
will
so
say about
obvious.
the illegals thing, because I think there are some people who do believe like, well, if they can't vote, what difference does it really make?
Hilarious.
And here's the thing. The amount of representatives that you have, that is
Mhm.
all based on
The
population.
census.
The
Yeah.
census. So
Every 10 years.
you're going to be losing representation when that census comes out again. And so
Yep.
they might not go walk in the booth directly, although I'm sure some of them do. That was the best argument someone made to me on Twitter was, why would someone who's here illegally risk deportation so they could vote? And I was
Mhm.
like, so you mean to tell me that crossing the border illegally is where they draw the line on breaking the law? Like casting a vote that they're not supposed to cast is not a step too far for them. Like, give me a
Right.
break. Give me
Yeah.
a break.
It falls flat. I was encouraged. I started looking at the comments. I love going in the comment section sometimes, unless it's one of my videos. But I do like reading your comment section and Rogan's, and a couple I pulled off. Even a guy who suffered a severe stroke and barely understands English can sit down for 2 hours. Props, bro. I agree. There's something to that. Like, and if you watch that whole interview, he struggled in the beginning with the connection he was having with the whatever device he uses, and it's like, yeah, good on you, man. Like you
hell
should
yeah.
be
At
out
least you
front.
did it.
At least you did it. You know,
Yeah,
Kamala's
respect.
bullshit about, oh, we can only do an hour and you need to fly to us. Well, those are not
Bullshit.
terms that anyone would agree to, which is just your
No.
way of going, we tried to do Rogan. Bullshit.
Right.
You could not go in there and sit like Fetterman did and have any better answers than him. None.
It would be a complete disaster.
I'm looking at the comments now. They're not very positive about Fetterman.
Well, I thought some of them were. Hour 1, he doesn't sound like a politician. Hour 2, he sounds like a politician.
Hey, I found that one.
Yeah. I got on a plane, rented a car, and checked into a hotel yesterday. Needed an ID for all three. They get into the ID stuff because he tries to peddle it's racist, and Rogan pushed back immediately on that. Dude seemed sincere and honest until he said voter fraud is a low number and kept dodging border questions. This dude clearly has no answers. This guy says, can we get Kamala on Rogan? Best we can do is Fetterman. This 3-hour format really exposes these politicians.
Totally.
Yeah, it does.
Totally.
Notice how Fetterman was open and honest until Joe brought up voting. I started watching this with an open mind and was coming around to him until he had to be asked, what would you do to secure the border 10 times? And he could not stop filibustering and would not give a straight answer. Fetterman would have gained a supporter if he answered honestly and from the heart. He's just another Democrat politician. Yep. And they go on and on and on. And it's true, but I think it's important for us to see that stuff.
Heck
I really do.
I think you should. I would rather see that than a debate any day.
Oh my God. Debates are so stupid.
Debates, you get nothing. Like
No.
Joe Rogan, it should be requirement. You have to go sit on Rogan's podcast for 3 hours if you're running for office.
You know what's funny? I tweeted that at one point. That this should be a requirement of anybody that wants to potentially run our country.
Yeah.
You should have to go sit in the fire. This idea of, we get caught in these throughout history a lot where you had to go across the country on trains, see, and wave to everybody and try to get the vote. And then radio airwaves came along and it was like, who was the first one to get in that? And then television, and then cable television. We're dealing with that now where they want this old format of control, like each candidate will get 2 minutes to answer the question and then we will move on. And you're like, why? Why are you doing this? We can all, you could do one person sit on. You don't even need a moderator. Just let these two fucking go.
Right.
Let them talk for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we don't need you here.
Right.
You're setting the table. Like we're fully capable of handling this.
Yes.
It's so we're struggling with that where this group that's used to having complete control over narratives is clinging desperately to that. And that's why I said in the very beginning of us doing this is the last year you have to deal with these people.
Yeah.
This is it. They're done.
Yep.
They're done. Nobody is going to honestly be going, well, I don't know who to vote for. Let's see what ABC says.
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
You're going to have these people understanding the importance of it. Like, I have a message and I don't need some fucking asshole twisting what I'm saying, taking me out of context. I'm going to go sit down for 3 hours and I'm going to tell people what I think. Yep. And I might not say it as eloquently as they would like. Fuck them. Here's what I bring to the table. Here's why you should vote for me. And have someone give real pushback. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it's gonna be. So I really feel confident in saying these debates, they can still host them. I'm with Trump. I don't need to do 2 more of those. Why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
You're not honest debaters to begin with. So what am I doing here?
Totally.
Okay, I've only got a couple minutes left. Thank you guys so much for being here, Amy. I'm counting on you for tomorrow.
Yes, totally.
Wednesday.
And remind your listeners, Mike, that if they are out and about tomorrow driving around, if they get pulled over, that they technically don't have to show their ID because tomorrow is the only day of the year where ID is racist. You do not have to have one on you.
Yep.
Go do your thing tomorrow.
And I'll say something funny about the votes tomorrow. Marina and I are both going to vote. And for a gay guy and a trans Hispanic woman, we're not voting for who you think we are.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad, man. I'm glad that the narrative has not turned into a cancer for
As
everyone.
yeah.
as JD Vance said,
Just wanna
you're
let you know,
getting
you
the
know.
normal gay guy vote.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're getting
Exactly.
I'm a Nazi homophobic racist,
Yes.
of course, and so
Yep.
is my Hispanic trans partner,
Sure.
obviously.
Sure. By the way, I do want to mention this part of the show brought to you by Deer Lake Athletic Club. I'll go through their read, and then remember, I think it's tomorrow. I just mentioned this on the member show on Friday, or Thursday, but Forey has invited people to come down tomorrow. I know it's kind of last minute, but if people are out and want to go by the Deer Lake Athletic Club, he said the second drink is on him. Those guys are awesome over there. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it turned into more than one drink they bought for you. But in this fucked up economy, if you can get a free drink, what are drinks going for in the bar now? $50 each.
Probably.
So maybe go get one of those. The Backcourt Restaurant inside the Deer Lake Athletic Club has weekly specials. Taco Tuesday, that's going on tomorrow. I think that comes with margarita too, free margarita. Kids meals for $5 on Thursday. Live entertainment on Fridays and Saturdays. Now they're open on Sundays at 10 a.m. for breakfast and football all day. Book your holiday party before December 1st in their banquet center for a special offer. Call 248-625-8686 for more info. Stop in at 6167 White Lake Road in Clarkston or visit their website, DeerLakeAthleticClub.com. Now, Amy, I wanted to save a couple minutes. I hope you have them because Josh wrote me a while ago about you. And I've been sitting on this email for a while.
Okay.
And it's the never-ending debate about trivia night. And
Yes.
he's going to lay out his case.
Okay.
And he's been sending me other emails like I'm avoiding this. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do this without Amy here.
Okay.
So we can
Hit
go
me.
through this. Sorry, I'm a little behind, but just listening to Poem 1909, and I needed to clear the air. And the subject is total BS, by the way. So that's how we're coming in. We're coming in hot with this one.
Okay.
On said poem, our cult leader gives MAGA Barbie credit for being very smart, which she is, and then goes on to say, the more time goes on, the more I come around to your side of maybe winning another trivia night. Hold on. Let me paint the picture for those that can't remember. Myself and Jeff Stein were planning to enter as a team, and we were asked by our fearless cult leader if we would allow superfan Jim Fox to be on our team from out of state since he could not make it. This was not our original plan, but we happily obliged in order to include another great fan. For those in attendance, I'm sure you can recall how loud it was. Jeff and I killed the prelim round without Fox's help because quite literally we could not hear him. We did not miss one single answer in that round without the help of Mr. Fox. Listener Josh Fortier can vouch for this as his team was also a finalist. Fast forward to the final, we thought it would be cool for Mr. Fox to represent us. Mike indeed was the one on the phone with Jim. And again, as those in attendance can recall, he was having a very hard time hearing him, to my point of us not using him in the prelim round. Jeff and I stood next to each other in the final round and answered every one of those questions correct, -1, which still would have won the trivia night. But go ahead and besmirch the name of the true trivia winners that night. Furthermore, I've never disclosed this to anyone because I was happy for Amy regardless, but her first trivia win gets more of an asterisk than ours does. How you ask?
Right.
How you ask? Unbeknownst to our host, there was a table feeding her answers in the final. As much as I was anti-Joel for the laughs, he truly is the winner of the first trivia night. Keep preaching the left-wing media bias while you, at the same time, are preaching the MAGA Barbie bias. In all seriousness, love the show. Always will support you. And Amy, keep doing what you're doing. Get Easis on for an episode. San Francisco Jacks. Josh, trivia winner with no asterisk.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about the first one. Won that fair and square, Josh. And as to the second one, if you were an honest competitor, you would recognize that the host of the show who has the answer, he has the answer to all the questions. He's the one that's on the phone and like, oh yeah, this is what Fox said. But you admit in that email that Mike could also barely hear Jim Fox. So
yes,
one would
true.
have to think that Mike was just giving the right answer because he couldn't actually hear what Jim Fox was saying.
Uh-oh.
So
Uh-oh. Now the accusations are flying.
all I'm saying is if that were me, if that were my team, I would say, you know what? We're going to win this fair and square. We don't want the host involved in, we don't want any questions. We don't want any asterisks.
Yeah.
But hey.
Fair enough. And looking
I'll
back
take
on
a
it
win.
now,
He can have a win. It's fine.
looking back on it now, because so many of these details escape me. But now that you guys mention it, I totally remember the Jim Fox can't hear anything. At the time, coming from my perspective, I would have been in a situation where it's a joke to me. The whole thing is a joke. But what I found out in the years since then is the people in that room were fucking taking it seriously.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. They were competitive. And they were absolutely taking that seriously, where I was probably fucking around having cocktails. I can say this: I would not have been feeding Fox answers, and I wouldn't have taken a bullshit answer and given him a correct answer. I wouldn't have done
No.
that.
I don't think that it was intentional. I just think it was
Yeah.
okay. Say, hey, what is Mike's favorite color? And then you're struggling to hear his answer, and you're like,
Yeah.
he said blue. I'm not saying that it was intentional. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that maybe you just did it and you didn't realize it.
And if I remember correctly, I think in the rules it said you had to be present.
Bingo.
I think
it
it did.
I think it did.
You know, because
Wait,
me and Isis and Jay would have put the rules together. And I think that was one of the things, hoping to get more people there. Like, you got to be
Well,
in person.
but
Like, it wasn't, what's that?
I was gonna say, but at the very beginning of that email, you guys put Fox on his team, on that guy's team,
Yeah,
without them
because-
wanting
The
Fox.
culprit of all of this is what I'm
Yes,
saying.
I am the culprit of that. Here's the thing. Jim Fox, so for full context in this situation, Jim Fox used to listen to this show. He used to be a huge listener, huge. He would dress up as Isis. He would fly in from Colorado. Like, he was no bullshit. He was renting cars and hotel rooms. He went boots on the ground looking for Bobby Gallagher in
Yep.
Buffalo. Like, he was that level. So if it would have been any other listener, I probably
Understandable.
would have just said, nope, you got to be present. But I probably bent that rule like, it's Fox.
Yeah.
He's flown here multiple times for events. He's
Totally.
spent a lot of money. He's really supportive. And so, hey, if I can, all right, well, hey, who wants Fox on their team? Like, I can totally see me doing that. I don't remember exactly the details, but the full context would have been along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for
Looking
sure.
back on it-
That is 100% what happened, Mike. I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it's bullshit that a host would in any way insert themselves into something that other people were fucking playing for real, because we had a list of really tough questions and really easy questions. And the people that got into the finals for that really fucking proved that they knew a lot about that show. They
Yeah.
knew a lot of detail.
Yeah,
There
I
was stuff
out
in
towards
there
the
that was one-off stuff that would have been like, we purposely went out of our way to have stuff like, nobody's going to get this.
Yes.
Like, I remember when we were putting those questions together, it was like, no one's going to know this. And then
Totally.
shockingly, people did. So it makes sense that people took it more seriously, even though I didn't give a shit. I was fucking around. And it was probably wrong. It was wrong to in that situation, put that on those guys. Like,
Mhm.
hey, you've got this other guy, Josh here, or Jim now. That was probably totally wrong. But, you know, that's my explanation of it. Now, hearing the story more, it's coming back to me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like, if Amy got 2 questions wrong and these guys only got 1. Like, I don't remember those details.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I don't remember those details either. And, you know, I gotta tell you, it's, it was all in good fun. And
Yeah.
there were never any like hard, like
True
I didn't
hard
go
feelings.
home and like hard feelings that I lost TDC trivia. So,
Yeah.
all
Weird for a
good on my
fascist and Nazi, by the way. Weird.
yes, you know,
You would
I
Surprised he
yeah.
didn't overthrow the election results.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah,
about an
trivia results.
insurrection
Yep.
at Mike's house.
It would have been warranted for that. It sounds like. Well, Josh, I told you I would read that email to Amy, and I have done that. I
Okay,
hope
Josh,
you're
you are
satisfied.
the official winner. How about that?
Okay, there we go. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. I've got a bunch more emails. Maybe we'll do them tomorrow, and we'll go through where you're going to be watching the debate, what you're going to be watching, because we'll go into all that stuff tomorrow, as well as you, Garrett. You guys have a great night, and
Yes.
look forward to it. Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy couple days for
I've already
sure.
stockpiled ammo.
Yeah. Dude,
Either way it goes, it's good to have a couple extra rounds.
I wish I could blame people for that attitude, but I
No.
fully understand it. I really
I was
do.
like, look, even if Trump wins, I just want to make sure I'm okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
you'll be all right.
It's all that
You'll be all right.
matters.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. This has been a
Yep.
lot of fun today. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Sounds
and
good.
we'll see you guys all then.
All righty.